afternoon. On behalf of Team South Florida, active and retired law enforcement, active and retired military, and civilian with close ties to the law enforcement profession, we wanted to give a brief example of why we're here today, who we're honoring, in addition to supporting law enforcement. From the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Corrections, Officer Brian Golden, end of watch February 10th, 2022. Officer Golden worked for the Florida Department of Corrections at the Jackson County Correctional Institute for the last 23 years. He was 47 years of age and just 2 years away from retirement before passing away. He is survived by his wife of 25 years, his daughter, his parents, his sister, and his grandchildren.
From the state of Florida, Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Corporal James McWhorter, end of watch, February 12, 2022. Corporal McWhorter was killed in a vehicle crash on I-95 in Yulee, Florida. His vehicle was struck by an oncoming pickup truck. All the occupants of the truck suffered non-fatal injuries. Corporal McWhorter was just 31 years young and served with the department for 2.5 years. He is survived by his 4 children, his fiancée, who he had the privilege of meeting last year during one of our holiday shopping sprees.
From the Tallahassee Police Department, Police Officer Christopher Fariello, end of watch June 8, 2022. Police Officer Fariello was killed in a patrol car struck head-on by a Suffolk police officer just after 1 a.m. Suffolk shot and wounded 3 of his own family members before fleeing the scene in a vehicle. The Leon County Sheriff's Office and the Tallahassee Police Department located the suspect vehicle. The suspect turned his vehicle around, drove toward incoming traffic, and then collided with Officer Fariello's patrol car. Tragically, Officer Fariello succumbed to his injuries. Suspect survived his injuries and was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, homicide, and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. Officer Fariello was just 34 years young and served with the Tallahassee Police Department for 4 years. He previously served with the Wilton Manors Police Department here in South Florida, and he's survived by his parents, brother, and cousin.
Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, Senior Investigator Kyle Patterson, end of watch, June 9th, 2022. Senior Investigator Patterson succumbed to injuries sustained in a head-on collision here. A driver was traveling eastbound in the westbound lanes when they crashed into Investigator Patterson's patrol vehicle. The driver of the vehicle was also killed. Investigator Patterson was just 35 years young and served with FWC for 15 years. He is survived by his wife and young children.
Miami-Dade Police Department. Police Officer Cesar Echevarri, end of watch, August 17, 2022. Officer Echevarri succumbed to gunshot wounds sustained 2 nights earlier when he was chasing a robbery suspect around 9 p.m. Officers observed a vehicle driving in Miami-Dade related to an armed robbery that took place the night before in Broward County. When they attempted to stop the vehicle fled, and they pursued it until the vehicle crashed into a light pole. The driver exited and fled on foot. Officer Echevarri and other officers pursued the subject on foot. The suspect began shooting at officers and struck Officer Echevarri. Thankfully, the suspect was killed by return fire. A second suspect in the initial robbery was shot and killed the following day when SWAT attempted to take him into custody at a local hotel. Officer Echevarri was just 29 years young, served with the Miami Police Department for 5 years, and was assigned to the Robbery Interventional Detail.
Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Special Agent Jose Perez, end of watch, August 20th, 2022. Special Agent Perez responded to an alarm at FDLE's Miami Regional Operations Center when another vehicle struck his department vehicle on August 2nd. He suffered serious injuries and was transported to a local hospital. He continued to fight before unfortunately succumbing to his injuries 18 days later on August 20th. Special Agent Perez was a United States Marine Corps veteran and served in law enforcement for 30 years. He joined FDLE after retiring from the City of Miami Police Department as an Assistant Chief of Police and was 55 years of age.
Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Sheriff Michael Hartwick, end of watch, September 22nd, 2022. Deputy Hartwick was struck and killed by a front-end loader truck on I-275 around 10:30 p.m. Deputy Hartwick was working overnight assignment, directing traffic for construction work, and was outside of his patrol vehicle when the front-end loader carrying concrete barriers struck him. The construction worker responsible fled the scene like a coward instead of trying to help. Thankfully, he was apprehended roughly 10 hours later after a relentless search. Another construction worker helped the suspect hide his work vest and flee the scene. Both were charged. The suspect entered the country illegally in the past, was deported back to Mexico, and later returned just a few months before this incident took place. Deputy Hartwick was 51 years of age, served with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office for 19 years, and is survived by his 2 sons and his mother.
U.S. Coast Guard Border Protection. U.S. Coast Guard Officer George Aris. End of watch, October 19th, 2022. Officer Aris was inadvertently shot and killed during an 8th training with CBP. Officer Aris was a U.S. Guard veteran and served with the CBP Office of Field Operations. He was a firearms training instructor and assigned to Miami International Airport. He was 40 years young, served with CBP for 9 years, and is survived by his wife and 2 children.
Polk County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Sheriff Blaine Lane, end of watch, October 4th, 2022. Deputy Lane was shot and killed while serving a felony arrest warrant in Polk County around 3 a.m. He and 3 other deputies were invited into the suspect's trailer to serve a narcotics failure to appear warrant. While Deputy Lane and other deputies were checking the trailer, the wanted suspect appeared and pointed a gun at them. Deputies immediately fired at the suspect. One of their rounds went through a wall and tragically struck Deputy Lane in the shoulder. Deputy Lane succumbed to his injuries. The suspect, a convicted felon, was shot twice and survived. She was charged with second-degree murder. Deputy Lane was just 21 years young, served with the Polk County Sheriff's Office for just over 1 year, and is survived by his 3-year-old child.
Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Sheriff Christopher Taylor, end of watch, November 22nd, 2022. Deputy Taylor was struck and killed by a drunk driver while conducting a traffic stop on I-75 just prior to 9 p.m. He was standing on the shoulder of the highway with the person he stopped. A driver lost control of her car and struck Deputy Taylor's patrol car. The patrol car was pushed into Deputy Taylor and the person he had initially stopped. Deputy Taylor was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The other person who was struck suffered minor injuries. The woman who struck Deputy Taylor had just completed probation for a previous DUI charge. She was arrested and charged with DUI manslaughter. Deputy Taylor was just 23 years young and served with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office for just over 1 year. He is survived by his parents and his fiancée.
Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, Corporal Ray Hamilton, end of watch, December 24th, 2022. Corporal Hamilton was shot and killed during a barricade in Wright, Florida. Deputies responded to an apartment around 9 a.m. to investigate a domestic from the previous night. The suspect refused to exit the home. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Special Response Team responded to the scene. The suspect fired out a window and struck Corporal Hamilton. Corporal Hamilton was transported to a local hospital where he tragically succumbed to his wounds several hours later. The suspect was charged with premeditated first-degree murder. Corporal Hamilton was just 34 years young, served with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for 5 years, and is survived by his wife, brother, and 2 sisters.
We would like to take this opportunity and recognize our fallen canine officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in 2022. From the Broward County Sheriff's Office, Canine Heroes, who passed through medically related issues. End of watch, May 4th, 2022. Columbia County Sheriff's Office, Canine Drago, died from a heat stroke following training. End of watch, June 15th, 2022. From the Lake Wales Police Department, Canine Max, he was shot and killed by a suspect. End of watch, August 3rd, 2022. From the Niceville Police Department, Canine Blue, killed in an automobile crash. End of watch, August 7th, 2022. Let us never forget.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a moment of silence for our fallen police officers.